Electrocast.
You know that feeling when someone shows up for you just when you need it most? That's what Uber is all about. Not just a ride or dinner at your door. It's how Uber helps you show up for the moments that matter. Because showing up can turn a tough day around or make a good one even better. Whatever it is, big or small, Uber is on the way. So you can be on yours. Uber, on our way.
This episode is brought to you by Nespresso and Samra Origins by the Weekend Coffee Collection.
Introducing Samra Origins. My collaboration with Nespresso is a connection to my roots, to my mother, Samra. Coffee that hits the right notes. It transports you. Crafted with unique notes and bold, soaring flavors. Experience a taste that moves you. Nespresso and Samra Origins.
Discover more at Nespresso.com.
I have to stop myself, but I do appreciate collecting physical games still because at the end of the day, you don't own your digital games. You're buying a license to play it.
Retro games, retro handhelds, and things that are of that nature are really triggering people's nostalgia. But it's not just nostalgia for the game. It's really like everything that was going on in your life at that time. Dude, Stubbs. Thank you so much for being on the show, man.
Yeah, Chris.
Welcome to Brain Arcade, where we're going to descend into the mouths of madness of Chris Cross's brain. No, it's for the audience. Can you introduce yourself and how basically in context of how I met you?
Yeah. So Chris, we had you over on our podcast, the Retro Handhelds podcast, over on YouTube. And so I'm Stubbs, and I run a organization called Retro Handhelds. We're a website, we're a community, we're a podcast, we're a review, organization, and we cover all news, everything related to retro handhelds, retro gaming, emulation, the latest, greatest way to play old games on new hardware. That's kind of our focus. And one of the big things we got into was starting to interview developers and like really hearing those war stories of old games. And early on, I know you and I spoke about connecting about the Medal of Honor franchise, one of my absolute favorite games growing up. And so we had you on the show and we talked all about the war stories behind it. And we had you on a second time and got it even more in the weeds. And it was super exciting, man. It was just so cool. Like you were leading me through how to play Frontline.
By looking at your feet?
Yeah, by looking at my feet, like a game that's really tough for me normally. But you're like, you know what? There's this glitch. You can just look at your feet and just glide through the levels because we didn't,
Have you tried it?
I did, yeah, and I showed it off to the audience too, and
you did?
It totally works, yeah.
Like you kind of have to like you peek, like I need to go straight for like 20 meters and then like turn left or do whatever. Then you look down and then you run.
And you run, and you're right. The enemies don't shoot at you because they're not.
Yeah, they're shooting, but they can't aim.
Okay, they don't see you.
Right? Yeah. Well, no, they see you, but they can't animate. So wherever, like they'll be like, oh, he's over there, but they'll shoot over there. Like, so like sometimes but if you sneak up on them, like they're facing away, they'll never see you because they won't animate to turn around.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. So it's like, so it's pretty wild. So I had a blast, as you could tell, like by my sort of energy, basically. Like you guys access stuff in the vault that like I haven't touched in like decades, right? And so in return, I was like, oh man, why don't you come over to Brain Arcade? And I had been planning on launching this for months, and so it's finally here. And I wanted you to talk some today about, as you know, this is a lot about like player psychology and, also game designer psychology and psychology in like the game space. Because believe it or not, almost everybody in this industry is always thinking about what other people are thinking, right? We're always contemplating that. And so it makes for some fun conversations. But I wanted you to come on for a bit and talk about the overall mentality of like your audience, but also like you, like how did you get into this space of like retro handhelds and retro games and etc.?
Oh man. All right. Yeah.
Like it's time for your origin story.
Oh man.
Like,
okay. All
parachute into the hedgerows.
Yeah, we can do that. We can get crazy here. Yeah, so I guess origin story. Yeah, Retro Handhelds was something that I really got into during COVID. We were isolated, we were lonely, we were bored, and inside a lot. I previously had really been focused on being a musician for a lot of like my hobby life and going out touring and having fun, playing shows. And then COVID shut everything down. And so I'm finding myself inside and I'm reconnecting to I've always been into emulation, always been into the retro gaming stuff, but I really started reconnecting to this time period where everything felt a little safer, nostalgia, whether it's rose tinted glasses or whatnot. And I'm seeing these new Chinese-made emulation handhelds coming out. They're like little Nintendo Switch looking things. I'm like, what is that? What? Well, that's not a Nintendo. That's
right.
Some other thing. Look it up. It's this third-party handheld, and there's a bunch of them being made, like Taki Udon, ETA Prime. These YouTubers are covering this. I'm like, what is this whole niche, this whole scene? And it was really underserved on Reddit and on Discord. Like there wasn't really any place to talk about this stuff, it seemed like. So I went ahead and made my first Reddit, made a Discord, and I figured it would be a couple people, but it was like just hundreds and then thousands and then tens of thousands of people joining in, realizing a lot of people, in my 30s at the time, were connecting with this. Like, oh my God, this is core memories unlocked. We're playing these games that were simple, that were fun, didn't have DLC and all that. And there's just this worldwide phenomenon of doing this. And a lot of us are parents, and so we're wanting to play games on the go. And so that's why the handheld aspect has been so important. One-handing a retro game, and then we start incentivizing making a game of the month program and building and building and building. Started a website, a news organization, then a podcast. And we're just like, how far can we grow this entrepreneurial nostalgia bomb? And now,
how's it going?
It's going awesome so far. We're awesome. We're seeing 1 million readers a month on the website. We're almost at 100K subscribers on the YouTube.
Congrats!
For the podcast.
That's amazing,
man. It's just people they want some sort of distraction right now more than ever.
Yeah. Well, so I think you hit a couple of things that are super interesting, which is like the nostalgia piece. It is a safer, it is rose-colored glasses a little bit because like in the same moment that I'm saying, oh, it was like a safer time, like I didn't wear red until I was in my 20s because I didn't want to get jumped on the street. So like, not because like, I look like a gang member, but you just didn't want to tempt anybody. You know what I mean? Like you just didn't want to give any knucklehead a reason. And so, growing up, well, whatever, we'll talk about the LBC some other time. But what's interesting about that though, is like, it was a simpler time as far as games goes, and like the fantasy was simpler and the expression was simpler, and so it's easier to see like, oh, I'm a boxing guy, clearly I need to win the championship.
Right.
Or like, oh, I'm a soldier, I gotta finish the mission, whatever it is. Like you just accepted, and you could, by the graphics, jump into whatever it was because you could start to fill in your own fantasy around it.
Yeah, there's not much preamble to it. You're just jumping right into the experience. You're not waiting on day one patches to download for hours.
Right.
And all this DRM stuff. It's just you're connecting straight to the game.
Right. Well, and also, so this is why I say I missed making games for the PlayStation 1, because it was the last time I didn't have to worry about a modem.
Yeah.
So, an early PlayStation 2. PlayStation 2 did eventually have like the network adapter, but PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2 were like, they're not pre-internet, but there was like pre-internet features, right?
Yes.
Like the first one, and this is where I looked at it and I was like, oh, this is cool, but my life is so going to change and it's all over now, was when SOCOM came out and you could take a picture of your face and put it on your guy. And I was like, and I was like, oh my God, this is so fun to play online with people, but no, I don't want to make stuff for this. Like I wanted to stay in that pocket, even as a developer, of like, I just want more RAM. Don't give me connectivity, right? So like, to me, that's what some of the handheld, like nostalgic stuff does for me, is like, it takes me back to like a development time. So
yeah. And like, okay. And you can connect these handhelds up to Wi-Fi. And there's this phenomenon now called retro achievements, where another community has taken it upon themselves to build in trophies and achievements into the old games, into Medal of Honor, for instance, like building in
that's wild
30, 40, 50 unique achievements that they use by going into the memory and editing, hex values. I don't know how they do it, but it triggers, and then gets you this dopamine hit that pops up like an Xbox achievement. Like, hey, you've unlocked this particular challenge. There's leaderboards that show up too. You're playing against hundreds of others. And then it connects to the database.
Right.
You get points, and then it shows your retro points versus all your friends.
God.
You can bring these old games to new life if you want that experience, or you can go camping in the woods with no Wi-Fi and just play the experience how it was originally.
So like, I'm just trying to imagine getting achievements for Mr. D's Castle or like Geek Doug, or like that would kind of freak me out a little bit because I haven't seen it yet myself. So I think it might be a little bit strange, but
so you're emulating and it pops up just like when you're playing a PlayStation or an Xbox, a little boop, boop, it has a little noise and it shows the achievement name and there's some, sassy, unique name for the achievement that's a pun or something. And then it immediately unlocks on the website through an API. I mean, God, hundreds of these handhelds will do it. There's just so many.
That's super interesting. So when I talk about game design and I bring up the arcade, there's a few observations for me. One, new game designers, it's not that they don't study or don't know the historical stuff. Is they're getting actually Pac-Man in everything that they play. It's just part of the layer cake of experience that's expressed in the game, right? So like the endorphin hit of like, oh my God, there's like 6 pieces of gold all like on the ground, and I go to get them like bing, 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 bing. That still references back to the roots of like Pac-Man of like clearing the board or like that compulsion of like doing things. So collecting. The collecting, but also that like cleanliness compulsion, right? Because Pac-Man is also about clearing, right?
Clearing out space, and it's that dopamine hit of the reward of just collecting the things.
Yes, exactly, and it's clean. It's clean, for a split second. It's super clean, right? And so,
it's like that. It's like the Viscera, what's called Viscera cleanup detail. It's just a game about cleaning up murder scenes,
right?
Like there's something zen about just cleaning out these horrible, horrific crime scenes. Like, okay, they're all spotless now. And it's very interesting. So I don't know.
Yeah. So, but there was another one called Serial Cleaner, which is pretty good.
That's right.
Serial Cleaner, and like there's some really good whatever. Anyway, just like I'm still playing like Power Wash Simulator.
Yes, exactly.
It's the same thing. It's
a little bit more like, PG.
Yeah, but it has that feeling of like scratching a scratcher.
Yes.
Right? Like when you're playing the lotto and you start scratching a scratcher, and like, I don't know about you, but I only leave the thing that says don't scratch. Like it's like a clean ticket, Like,
you have to get every little bit.
Yeah,
off.
That's right. Every little bit has to go.
You have to get every little bit off. I mean, it's the same thing with like Lawnmower Simulator. My friends and I love playing that, where it's just like you're just mowing a lawn. Now, I could go out. My actual lawn is pretty long. I should go outside and mow my actual lawn.
Right.
But I'm inside mowing a digital lawn that has zero value added to my life.
Well, this is a long way for an out on this one. But what you need to do is get like a level editor for Lawnmower Simulator, create your yard, and then hook it up to a remote control the lawnmower outside.
I mean, you could get like a drone.
Yeah, like a drone lawnmower, and then you could mow your lawn from your couch. And just go out, like put gas in it, like set it up, and then go back to the couch and drive it around, right? And like, what are you doing? I'm mowing the lawn, honey.
Well, you got to make sure there's like checks and balances so it doesn't like mow the neighborhood cat or something, like you got to check for that. But
yeah. Well, do you?
Maybe not. Maybe, I'm more of a dog person. So you're right. I see your point there.
I'm just like, if somebody else's dog or cat isn't avoiding the lawnmower, that's kind of natural selection.
It's kind of natural selection. It's not great, but I guess we'll build a detection system. I came prepared today.
Well,
I know you like
you could put a cat
and
catcher.
Grenades. Yeah, a cat catcher.
Oh, you came prepared. What do you got?
Oh, well, just that I know you're a fan of the explosions and the grenades. Like you and I were talking about, you're making this grenade, game. And I love it too. Like the more chaos, the better in my games.
Yeah. The more chaos, the better. It's fun times. So, by the way, I think I need 2 handhelds. I think I need one, which is like I think I need a couple per era, right? Like I think I need like 80s to 90s arcade era, and that's a machine. And then like I need the Street Fighter and fighting games one. There's nothing else on it. Because part of my issue is that once you get into the like fighting games ones, you need more buttons.
Right.
Right. And so like earlier games, you kind of don't need as many. See what I'm talking about? Look at it.
So-
It looks like a Game Boy, but it's got 6 buttons.
Yeah, so this is the Retroid Pocket Classic, and this is a brand new one. And this one, they're going after that Sega Saturn arcade experience. OLED screen on this bad boy.
Wow.
It's focused on that experience, and Snapdragon has a brand new Snapdragon chip in it, so it's going to play anything of MAME, Final Burn Neo,
Right.
arcade, Saturn.
Oh my God.
It's $130, so it's not bad.
That's amazing. See, $130. Like that's like I spent more in actual quarters back in the day. Like
Yeah,
way more in actual quarters across like
experience.
my childhood. You know, though, I do for me, and this is because of the way I'm wired. I'm much more of an explorer brain. I go back for the nostalgia, but I kind of don't hang out to do high scores and stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In some ways. Like
I'm there
it's just
too.
they're so simple in some like kind of that you're like they're almost too simple. Some of them.
There was a time and a place for that, right? Like in the 80s in the arcade,
Yeah.
you're in there and the goal is to get the high score. As later on, it was more about storytelling, right? I mean, you were part of that
Yes.
developer crew who's bringing that new generation of games in where it's really focused on the storytelling. And I guess that started with Donkey Kong, right? Like you were talking about in your documentary on on Discovery, right? That was Game Changers. That was such a cool show.
It was fun to record. It was super fun.
Yeah, I was telling my wife, I was like, this is Chris. He's on the TV.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, that's so cool.
Oh, that's funny. So by the way, if we go to Barcade or something like that,
Yeah.
I can still pretty much go down one wall and like post a score. It's not as much, but still like I can get there in a few quarters, right?
I could go hard on like Pac-Man. I really wasn't great at like Tetris or I mean any of the like Space Invaders, like any of those ones where you're really trying to go crazy on the scores. Yeah, just because I grew up again in the story game generation.
Yeah, right. Yeah, whereas like for me, a lot of the story, and this reflects also in personality, like a lot of the story was about my experience outside the game, right? And so like the story of playing Spy Hunter in the arcade, well, the first story is, oh my God, did you see this game? You're like a car and it has a crazy it has a crazy steering wheel with buttons on it. You're like James Bond. And it's called Spy Hunter, right? And then like everything was about outside the cabinet. And so like the next story after that is how far did you get? And then it was always like, oh, did you see the boat? Did you turn into a boat? Like it was always this exploration sort of a thing, or even just the idea that like the first time somebody says, oh, I played Pitfall and I went to the left, right? And you're like, wait, what? Like I didn't even think you could do that because you're wired a certain way.
In games, you go to the right. You just keep going to the right.
That's right. But even the very first or one of the first like notable run to the right games had a left option. So go back and play Pitfall and go left.
I've never once thought to do that.
It will mess you up because you're now approaching alligators on the opposite side of their mouth. You know what I mean? So all the jump puzzles are kind of reversed. So you go that way. And so our whole thing was how many gold bars did you get? Like how deep did you get, right? So like how many gold bars? And then then we started doing how many gold bars to the left. And then it got super competitive. But like it was just part of that nostalgia thing. Now, however, so there's a couple things I think you and I should do a special stream on, right?
Okay.
And one of them is we do a share screen and we call up a MAME and then we put up a game, a tracked screen. And then I can tell you which arcade I played it first at.
Wild.
That's how strong my memory is for that stuff. I think that's part of the retro piece. I don't think that everybody has that kind of a memory with it. I was a very, very hardcore arcade rat. I think that's part of it is there is I see the screen and it calls up. I'm like, oh my God, it's Lamppost Pizza, right? Yeah, like I can smell it, like I'm there, like I'm transported.
I was thinking about this the other day, how when we play games, we are connecting whatever the environment we're in at the time. We're permanently creating a record of this association between the environment and the game we're playing. Me, the same thing, like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3. I was playing through the game for Game of the Month this month, and I beat the game because I just have to because otherwise my friends think I'm lame and I keep up with the Joneses. Anyways, I was playing it while watching WWE wrestling documentaries. Okay, and so forever now, when I'm playing this game, I'm going to be thinking about these wrestlers.
Right?
Tony Hawk.
Right.
And I'm like, why does that happen? What is that phenomenon?
So that's not a bad era though, because when Tony Hawk 3 first came out originally, like just before that, I hadn't gotten back into wrestling again.
Oh, see?
But that was the inception of the Rock era. It was very it was like Stone Cold Steve Austin, and it was about to be the Rock, and it was like I got really just excited about wrestling for a few years, because as an adult I came back to it and was like, oh my god, this is like it's male soap opera.
Yeah, it is male soap opera.
It's fantastic. And
Attitude era, it was so
Attitude,
good.
yeah. And then those mental associations, I think it's so much easier. Like I said, when you play a game that's like, it doesn't have surround sound. It doesn't have like, it has some story stuff, right? Like the beginning of Ghouls and Ghosts, like sets it up. Like the little demon guy comes, takes your lady and your armor, and you got to run, right? Or whatever. Yeah. There's just enough motivation to get there. But then you sort of start to fill in. You're like, dude, what was this guy doing? Just hanging out? Like what? Like, you know, what's his life like? Or you start to wonder about like the backstory of these things.
Yeah.
And like, who just leaves like all this whole haunted land off on the side and doesn't come through with a bulldozer? Like, what's going on here? Right? Like,
yeah. Like in your games, like why is there always a peeing guy? You know,
there's always a peeing guy.
Well, because always a peeing guy.
That's just true in life.
Yeah, and you know what, Chris? I've been finding peeing guys in other video games now.
Yeah,
like there's other. I'm like, oh, this is like a industry thing.
Did you play Twin Sins Odyssey?
No, I haven't yet.
There's a peeing guy in there. You steal his motorcycle.
Oh, come on. Well, okay.
Well, so you know what it is? It's a cheap way to get people to feel like they're human beings. Like it makes them real. They makes them real, like flesh and blood.
Yeah.
Without having to like cut them open, right? Like basically, it shows that they have biological function, and that's why there's always a peeing guy.
Yeah, it's important. I mean, yeah, in Half-Life, it's why they have toilets. It's important. It's an important part of the game.
It's a trick. It's literally just to make you feel like it could be a real place.
Yeah,
or a real person.
Even if the graphics are simple, you know, it brought us into the game that much more.
Whatever the occasion, effortless elegance is right this way. Because Hilton brings you new ways to stay, courtesy of the Nomad London. And it doesn't stop at award-winning dining in a space draped in velvet and illuminated by vintage chandeliers. No, this day goes beyond with unparalleled personalized service and attentive hospitality. Oh, and did we mention the Nomad London can be booked using your Hilton Honors points at Hilton.com? Hilton, for the stay.
This episode is sponsored by Friskies, who would like to tell your cats hi. Now, if that didn't get your cat's attention, there's one thing that always does the trick. Just pour some Friskies crunchy food in the bowl and you'll hear those paws come running. Works every time. With so many Friskies choices, you can always bring your cats running from their secret napping spots. There's always more to explore. See for yourself at Friskies.com or visit your local store.
Going back to your handheld topic, 2 handhelds, right? You're talking one for arcade.
So one for arcade.
Something like that, a 6-button layout.
Yep.
And you're thinking like one for what, like everything else?
Like fighters. So fighters specifically. So it'd still be a 6-button, but I would want like a pretty good, like a 4-directional joystick, like a little thumbstick. Do you know what I mean? That didn't have like rounded corners. I would want the bottom to be square.
Right.
Not the bottom, but the joystick channel, right? Like it would need to be a 4-directional with corners.
So probably not a vertical, like a horizontal candy bar style.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I'm saying it's 2, because the form factor is different. I would want one that's like every 6-button Capcom fighting game, because like, you know, Marvel versus Capcom, the first couple are amazing. You know, Street Fighter all the way up through. Actually, I've got the HD sort of reissue on my Xbox. It's just not the same, especially because you have to start using shoulder buttons. It's fucked up. It's just not the same.
Yeah, and there's a lot of low quality effort going into these like corporate branded retro nostalgia devices coming out with. The corporate ones just are not it. Now these China made ones, I have just a lot of cares going into them. It's just this wacky thing, right? So I have one in mind. It's called the Ambernick RG Arc, and maybe you'll have to pull up an image. I don't have it in the room now, but it's a 6-button horizontal. It has a fighting style D-pad meant for fighting games and 6-button layout. And you hold it, and it looks like a Sega Genesis controller.
Okay.
That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
4:3 aspect ratio. It's about, 6 inches wide. I think that would be a really solid option. $60.
Oh my God, that's it? That's
Yeah,
crazy.
Yeah.
That's insane.
You can get a fancy version for $100. Well, okay, listen, we have to work in tariffs into this these days too.
Sure.
So, I mean, yeah, after everything's said and done, you might be paying $120 to $20.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, it's really about the, like, for me, it's more about shelf space. Like, I just don't have a lot of shelf space right now, or like dedicated like storage space. So I have to work that out.
Dude, I like your idea of 2 devices. That would be nuts for me. I have probably 150 or so of these things.
Yeah. But they're all test machines kind of thing?
They're test machines. Like, I'm reviewing them and stuff for my YouTube channel. It's like, there's a reason for that. But as a collector, I probably would still have at least 50, and they'd be, dedicated. Each one is dedicated to a different particular thing.
Sure.
And a lot of them, we call them shelf princesses, where we're not even going to play them. They're just going to look nice on the shelf.
Right. Well, and it gets different. Like, so it might be 3 for me, but because there's a transition there for me in my life where it's like I moved more towards console and PC, right? And so it's like I want a dedicated pure arcade one, right? Which is up to like the early 90s. So basically ends at the Street Fighter era ish, right? Or maybe a little bit after. Everything but Street Fighter. Although you got to go see if you can find a game called Kageki, Kageki. It's a Ring King predecessor a little bit, but the arcade Ring King is superior to the NES version. Like it's fantastic. And then I would need a third one, which is a console emulator, which would be NES all the way through like PlayStation 2, whatever I could get, or PlayStation 1. Then after that, I could play everything else on my PC.
There's so many options. So most of these handhelds, the sub $100 ones, all of them can play up to PS1 without breaking a sweat. Wow. It's when the big divider is PS1 to PS2 era. PS2 era, you're jumping up quite a bit in the emulation needs.
Yep.
So you're going over $100, but there's a lot of them that pull that off well too. There's even ones now that we're emulating PS3 on Android handhelds now.
Wow. So you're saying I could have just one. Like I would want a dedicated fighting one, but everything else could go onto one big. There's a saying in the community: "Just get a Steam Deck, bro." That's the saying. That's the meme. Just get a Steam Deck, bro. Yeah,
like we talked about all these handhelds you could buy, but really Valve has answered this. You could get a one and done, giant 8-inch Steam Deck that plays up to PS3, Nintendo Switch. It's doing Xbox 360, Vita. All this stuff.
I guess. I don't know. It's like there's something I love the Game Boy form factor.
I know.
Because I feel like it's so portable. Whereas the Steam Deck starts to feel like a cyberpunk like hacking deck a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I'm like I want the small form factor for the arcade stuff because I think they'll feel better there. And then the fighting games one is very specific because I don't want a circular channel left stick. I want it to have corners.
Okay.
Right. Does that make sense? Like where you go to the diagonal and it locks into a corner.
Yeah. You feel the pivot. You feel the click, the pivot into the diagonal, right?
Right. Yeah. There's
you want this style D-pad. This is, AYN makes these, Retroid makes these. But this is a clamshell called the Retroid Pocket Flip 2. And this one has a D-pad that you can feel pivot into the diagonals. Pivot all the way around. And I know you can't see the diagonal very well there, but you can feel it. It's just so.
Oh, really? Okay.
The engineering on these is so crazy.
Right.
And this you just pop in your pocket, and this plays up to PS3. This little thing.
Wow, that's pretty
crazy.
Nice. That's cool.
$200 for these ones.
The one thing that I wish I could do, and I bet I could find it if I go looking for it hard enough. So there's a Street Fighter. There's a chipset that was the one with all the glitches. It was like chipset 1.6 or something like that, or like 1.09 or something. It was like, but then they fixed it. So like I can tell you what chipset it is by the length of Guile's leg. Like when he does a kick, there's if it looks a little bit like disproportionately long, it's the right chipset. If it's a little bit short, it's like a 12 pixel difference. Like you can see it if you know what you're looking for.
So you're talking about knowing if it's like a, I don't know, 8-bit versus 16-bit or something?
No. This is they patched it. So like all the glitches that were in Street Fighter 2 when it hit the arcades, they patched it with a new chipset, so they would actually swap out the ROMs, and you could tell it's still Street Fighter 2. It's nothing different except that they patched the glitches and they fixed some balancing issues like Guile's leg. So it's like they had like tricks like handcuffs and turn Dhalsim invisible and like reset the machine were all glitches that you could fire off at the arcade, and we all found them. Right. And then they patched it out. So they would send the chipset to operators to like pull it and plug a new ROM in. And then that was the patch. That was like the fix for the patch.
Well, I know you spent a long time, right, on Street Fighter 2 before your game development career.
Yes, a lot, a ton. A total ton.
I mean, I missed out on a lot of those early arcade experiences. Like my mom is a rock star at Pac-Man because she grew up in the arcade. In the
my
70s.
Mom was too. My mom was fucking amazing.
You know, right? Yeah.
Ms. Pac-Man specifically.
Yeah, Miss Pac-Man. Oh, that's right. That was her game too. But again, my first console really was the NES. And so that's the one I started mastering. Mega Man. I mean, Mega Man was ridiculously difficult in its own right, but I missed
almost too hard when it came out. It was almost too hard when it came
out.
So especially with a D-pad, like you were like the precision of the grid was good, but there were times when you were like, so that's interesting because like for me, there was a little bit of escapism in the fact that I was out of the house going to the arcade, right, and a little bit of like I'm out on an adventure and that kind of a thing. But like
we did laser tag. That's what we did. We got out of the house.
Yeah, we did that eventually, but we first started with rolled up newspapers and like duct tape. Like it was like getting hit with like a heavy stick. Like we would huck those at each other. We're like, I don't know how I didn't die like 40 times when I was a kid. It's like we're like inverse Final Destination. Somehow we like did not die many times when we should have. Right, many tetanus shots later, like it turned into a thing. So
I feel that.
Okay, so back to the brain a little bit. What's fun about the nostalgia for me is like it's interesting everything that comes with it. Mm-hmm. Right? When I play the games, it's not really about playing the game. It's about all of the things around it. Like I said, where I played it, what was going on in my life. You know, like the first time I played Punch-Out, like this is pre-Little Mac days in the arcade, and he was like a wireframe first-person thing. It was the first time I'd ever seen something like that. Right. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like where
I know
your main character, his body was made out of like, it was the first time I'd ever seen like a green wireframe, and the camera looked through him. And so it was almost first-person.
Okay, that first person experience, yeah.
Yeah, and he had a regular like shaded head and like, you know, a green line body, so you could see what the other boxers were doing through your body. Like it was almost like the camera was looking through the chest, and like that version of Punch-Out is so different than the NES version. Like there was no progression, there was no like training with Mac, there was no like we're with Coach and doing all the things to like level up, and there was no Mike Tyson. But it was a lot of the early boxes were the same, like Bald Bull, etc. But that, to me, is a specific arcade in Torrance, California, where like the first time I saw it, like I don't remember anything else around that day except how I felt. Right? Like it was like this. It was this moment of like, oh, what?
And it gets locked in permanently in your brain.
Permanently locked in.
All the senses you have. I have a lot of associations like that. For instance, again, going back to Medal of Honor, like my brother and I playing that in the kitchen, you know, on a summer's day. We could be outside, but we want to do the verses. We want to shoot each other, you know.
Right.
And then like Siphon Filter, that's one that I really have warm memories about playing Siphon Filter. Like my grandmother's house, her making me French toast. I'm over there on a Saturday, playing Siphon Filter, and just the smell in the air, like the warm feeling of grandparents. And every time I launch that game and emulate it, I get that same experience hit me again in little doses.
That's interesting. Like, so with live games, it's a little different. And this is where like I'm going to transition us a little bit. In 20 years, is somebody going to play Fortnite and have a similar nostalgia feeling? Or are they just going to be like, oh, look, they've updated it 6,000 times. So it's not even the game that I played.
Yeah, we're on season 200 now.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, they did do like an OG re-release, which is interesting because we haven't even pressed it like over a decade yet, and they've already gone back to like, hey, this is season 1 mechanics, right? Like,
well, they say time is speeding up in a way. Maybe it's because we're aging, but I feel like the nostalgia gets created faster and faster. Like I'm nostalgic for 5 years ago playing games that came out now. whereas before it's like I'm nostalgic for games 30 years ago. And now it's like these mini nostalgia things like, oh man, I need to get that back in my life. Like Fortnite, 10 years ago, like we got to go back to that. Or WoW, they released these, the vanilla WoW server mods you can run on your own. So you can go back and play that game without the servers being around anymore.
Yeah, that's amazing. Well, because like vanilla WoW OG, I mean, I remember I think I kept it 60.
Yeah.
Was such a different time. It was so not simple is not the right word, but I think the word uncomplicated is better. It wasn't simple because it was still complex, but it was like, it didn't have all of these extra crazy goofball layers, or like people didn't have a main and like 6 other characters. They had like maybe 2 or 3, right?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, that's kind of wild. So like, I don't think I've ever told you this. I have this dream of like 1v1 or at most 3v3 modern, like online capable arcade games, right? Where it's like, I'm going to charge a quarter and it's a winner stays, loser pays. And the whole reward system is about win streaks. So you play something simple, like whatever, let's just say combat, right?
Okay.
And you would be like, it's you versus me, first to 3, and then that person gets kicked. And then there's a queue. So you instantly are playing again. There's not like it's like, did you ever play Rocket Arena? Like Quake 2 Rocket Arena? So you remember like it was an 8-person server, but 7 people, like 2 people were playing and 6 people were watching. And so that like there was like a order in line. And so you would watch 2 people fight and then you're like, I'm next. So like, I got to watch who's going to win this.
Yeah.
Right. And you'd be like, it's that guy. Like I'm jumping
memorize
in.
their skills a little bit, like how they're playing.
Yeah. Or what the route was or anything like that. So a similar thing where it'd be combat, but there's 8 people in the room and you would like just rotate people in. But with like modern technology, we can always keep somebody rotated in, right? You could be watching games and sort of go in, but every time you play, you have to pay a quarter. Like it would be winner stays, loser pays, and like until you get to like the esports level, like I would make like a tier where like you get to esports, you're playing for free now, but now you're opted into the league, kind of a thing. Right?
Yeah, I could see that. Okay, so
it would be modernish graphics, but it would be screen space gameplay, right? And by screen space gameplay, I mean more like not necessarily 2D, but like flat plane mechanics. Actually, I would actually do space flight sims too, like X-Wing versus TIE Fighter 1v1. Come on. That would be amazing.
Nuts. There is a movement towards making multiplayer out of games that shouldn't be multiplayer. Like Skyrim, there's a big mod for Skyrim that makes that experience multiplayer. Really? You can add up to, I think, 4, maybe 8 people into the world.
Oh, God. Can you imagine?
There's a lot of game-breaking bugs that you're introducing here.
Sure.
But
because like when you're playing single player, you're essentially a superhero. So you're essentially adding like 7 more superheroes.
Yeah.
And you can do like even 2 people with the like yell force push.
Yeah.
I could do disastrous things to that game.
It's nuts. Especially I don't know if you can do PvP. I think it's all PvE, like co-op stuff,
right.
But
sure.
It's still like, it's ridiculous that they're able to do this.
You know how fast you and me and 6 other people, like I would orchestrate like whatever the Skyrim throat chanters, like, like chorus, but we would circle an NPC, like herd him into a rock, and then we would all do the force push at this angle and see how far we could blast them. You know what I mean? Like, okay, 3, 2, 1, everybody force push.
Like, that's what it's all about. Yeah. Let's just see how crazy we can mess with the physics in this game.
That would be amazing. Can we send this guy outside of the compartment and over the ocean?
God, well, that's what my friends and I
love that stuff.
We'd love to play Gary's mod on the Source Engine. Have you ever played that? It's just a physics sandbox. It's ridiculous. Yep. It's where that whole like stupid skibbity toilet meme came from.
Yeah, right.
I can't believe I just said skibbity toilet on a podcast.
I know, and in a serious sentence.
Oh man,
like an actual correct sentence with structure.
We go,
like and a proper reference. Like it was proper.
It was proper. We went to GameStop. My daughter loves the skibbity toilet. She's 7 years old, man, and she's like, "Can we get this? It's a giant doll of this toilet,
of this skibbity toilet.
Skibbity toilet." I'm like, "Oh, what is happening?
What does this world come to?"
What is this world? Is only this generation corrupted, or was our generation, like, were all the generations corrupted? I don't know.
I mean, I was pretty happy to have a monkey with a siren on top of his head. Like, it's like, Like we weren't that much more sophisticated.
That's right. That's right. We played with GAC in the 90s.
Yeah,
Nickelodeon.
GAC, Nickelodeon, all the slime, which eventually spawned Splatoon. Right, because that's a direct descendant of GAC, which is Splatoon,
for sure.
Right?
Yeah, Splatoon is just a mess.
Oh my god! Not to get too sorry, I have to do a footnote here. I won't shop at GameSlop at all.
Yeah, I mean it's basically, I guess I think Geek Warehouse and a Pokemon sort of, and Funko Pop. It's all branding. Yeah. They have retro games now though. That's why I go in there sometimes. Like they have
maybe
PS1, SNES. Okay. They have old retro games they're collecting again to sell for pretty good prices. That's the one thing.
Okay, I would do that. But like there was a time there where essentially their used game policies were very predatory for a while.
Oh yeah.
Like that, there was that time when they'd be like, "Oh, you played it for like 20 hours, bring it back, and we'll buy it from you for $10 and then sell it for $5 under retail." Right? Like they were super. It just was like everybody was getting screwed by them for a while.
As far as I can tell, it's not that much better now. It's just that I don't know.
Well, so many like people more now buy physical media for collecting.
For collecting, it's much more rare.
Yeah,
I mean, and Best Buy, removed or is removing almost all physical media, like movies and all that.
That's interesting. It's wasted shelf space.
Wasted shelf space. People aren't buying Blu-rays anymore.
Right. Yeah, I mean, you just kind of don't need to. But I have to say, I have run into a few situations where I'm like, man, I can't find this thing because they don't have a deal with any of the streaming stuff. I'm super glad that I have, a disc somewhere.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, I'll go down to a Goodwill sometimes and find absolute gold. I picked up Band of Brothers, like the box set for $5.
Really?
Actually,
that's a great idea. I haven't been to Goodwill in a while, and I live kind of near a bunch of old folks' homes. I bet you that's good shit.
It's kind of fun.
I know that sounds morbid, but
no. I mean, the estate sales, like they get some gold in there, and you're finding like PS2s and these consoles.
Totally.
I have to be careful because I can really get into that hoarder collector mindset. I'm like, oh, I got to go get everything now,
Right. I get there too sometimes too.
And I have to stop myself. But I do appreciate collecting physical games still because at the end of the day, you don't own your digital games. You're buying a license to play it indefinitely.
True. But technically, if you read the EULAs for the physical games, you didn't own them either.
Really?
I think so, yeah.
Well, but you physically have it in your, like, who's going to take that away from you?
Nobody's going to take the disc away from you. But like before DRM, for sure, there was no way to inhibit you from playing it. So, all right, let me recap a little bit because we're running out of time. But retro games, retro handhelds, and things that are of that nature are really triggering people's nostalgia. But it's not just nostalgia for the game. It's really like everything that was going on in your life at that time.
Yeah. Warmth.
Right? Would you agree with that? Like there's a warmth to it? Like
absolutely. That's the whole reason for it. Like it's you keep trying to dive into those feelings as much as possible, especially when the world's getting more chaotic and things are getting more uncertain. Just that security blanket of that nostalgia feels so good that you're like, how many ways can I express that? How many ways can I explore? How many angles can I take? How many sides can I look at? And that's why me and other gamers, other collectors end up with, 100 handhelds.
Right. That's amazing. Well, dude, next time you come to LA, we got to go hit whatever. We got to hang out, but I'll try to plan some sort of special game occasion where we'll go out and play some retro games.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Barcade or one of those conventions. Yeah.
There's a couple out here. Oh, wait. Did you and I talk about pinball? Are you a pinball head at all?
I'm not a pinball head, but I appreciate pinball. I like pinball.
All right. There's a couple of good ones out here that have here's my top 3. Medieval Madness, Monster Bash. If you're not a pinball fan, go play those 2 and persevere enough to learn how to do the multi-balls. And then after that, there's like rotating option for 3, like No Good Gophers, Fishtails. Like there was an era there was a golden age of pinball, like in the mid 90s. That was or late 90s. That was amazing. It was amazing. What was that? Funhouse, like there's just whatever, Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Really good stuff.
Yeah. And there's that nice tactile feeling of feeling the ball, push around, you get the da-dung,
and the physics. Yeah.
Yeah. And all the lights are going off and flashing.
Yeah.
But I have to say, emulation is magic to me. And I like to emulate pinball as well. There's a lot of good pinball games. Alien Crush for TurboGrafx 16. Awesome game. Sonic Spinball. Not as good, but.
All right, I'm going to close at this. I'm going to give you a Steam recommendation. Okay. So by the way, Pinball Arcade, and they've discontinued some of the table packs, and I'll never uninstall it because it's got those tables that I love on it. Yes. But that's actually a really great simulation. But here's one you have to play. Have you played Rollers of the Realm?
No.
Okay, it's a pinball RPG. Every ball is a character. So you have a knight and a rogue and okay, everybody out there, I'm going to close the show with go play Rollers of the Realm.
That's our homework.
It's on Steam. That's your homework. Go play Rollers of the Realm.
Rollers of the Realm.
It's it has flaws, but
fair.
It is a, when I say pinball RPG, it is literally a pinball RPG. It's good times.
Rollers of the Realm. I bet you, I'm a crazy person. I have too many Steam games. I bet you I already have that. I'm checking my library.
You might.
Real quick here. This is very important.
Yeah. Well, in the meantime, thank you for being on. You're going to have to come back again. And also, we're just going to have to get into the same city at the same time so that we can go post some high scores.
We're in the same time zone. I'm in Portland, Oregon. You're what?
You're not that far. LA. I mean,
Cali.
LA. It's no big deal. You're a short hop out.
So. Yeah. And so many more topics. So. I can't wait to come back on. You got to be on our show again.
Anytime.
We need to do an actual game challenge on the show.
Okay.
I don't know what yet, but
I'm in. Well, give me a little bit of time just
to practice.
Get the old synapses going, but not too much, 30 minutes. It would be fine. Awesome. Well, thanks, dude.
Right. Thanks, Chris.
Brain Arcade is a Princess Hermit production, produced by Kyrene Kim, music and mixing by Jonathan Ontiveros. The podcast is hosted by me, Chris Cross. You can find me and my other endeavors at coffeeacross.com.
Electricast.